The unexpected fine-day routine day turned strange captain Sarah Chen had been hauling cargo through the void for 15 years, and she thought she had seen everything the galaxy could throw at her. The stellar horizon was her pride and joy, a modified, Constellation-class freighter that had never let her down in over 1 million miles of space travel. Today was supposed to be just another routine maintenance check before their next jump to the Kepler station. Sarah floated outside the ship in her EVA suit, magnetic boots keeping her anchored to the hull as she inspected the external sensors. The silence of space was comforting after the constant hum of the ship's engines. Her breath fogged the helmet visor as she worked, methodically checking each system with the practiced ease of someone who had done this hundreds of times before. Everything looks good on sections 1 through 6, she reported to her ship's AI Marcus. Moving to hull 7 now. Copy that, Captain. All systems showing green from here, Marcus replied in his calm, synthetic voice. Sarah maneuvered around the ship's curved hull, her headlamp cutting through the darkness. Hull 7 was the cargo bay's outer wall, usually the cleanest section, since it had the least exposure to cosmic debris. But as her light swept across the metal surface, she stopped dead in her tracks. The Discovery clusters of crystalline formations jutted from the hull like frozen flowers. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time, each one about the size of her fist and glowing with a soft, pulsing light that seemed to come from within. The crystals were a deep blue-green color, almost like Earth's ocean depths, and they moved slightly as if breathing. Marcus, are you seeing this through my helmet cam? Sarah asked, her voice tight with concern. Affirmative, Captain. I'm detecting unknown organic compounds. The formations appear to be ... alive. Sarah's heart pounded. In 15 years of space travel, she had heard stories of ships being infected by alien organisms, of entire crews being consumed by things that shouldn't exist. But she had never seen anything like this firsthand. Run a full-spectrum analysis, she ordered, moving closer to examine the crystals, and prep the emergency decontamination protocols. The crystals pulsed brighter as she approached, and Sarah could swear she heard something through her helmet's communication system. Not quite a voice, but something that felt like communication. Captain, the analysis is unusual, Marcus reported. These organisms are definitely alien, but they're not showing any signs of aggression. In fact, they seem to be trying to communicate. Sarah's scientific curiosity overcame her fear. She had always been the type to solve problems head-on, rather than run from them. What kind of communication? Low-frequency, electromagnetic pulses. Very organized, almost like a language pattern. Sarah activated her suit's recording equipment and positioned herself directly in front of the largest crystal cluster. If you're trying to talk, I'm listening, she said aloud, feeling slightly foolish but determined to understand what was happening to her ship. The crystals flared brighter, and suddenly Sarah's helmet was filled with a voice that was definitely not human. It was musical, layered with harmonics that made her think of wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Thank you for not destroying us immediately, the voice said. We were not certain humans would show such restraint. First contact. Sarah's mind raced. This was first contact with an alien species, and it was happening to her, a simple cargo hauler, in the middle of nowhere. Who are you? What are you doing on my ship? We are the Christery, the voice replied. We are refugees, fleeing from a war that has consumed our home system. Your vessel passed through the debris field of our world 3 cycles ago. We attached ourselves to your hull, hoping to find safety. Sarah tried to process this information. 3 cycles ago would have been when she passed through the Vega system, delivering medical supplies to the outer colonies. She had noticed some unusual readings but attributed them to the local star's radiation. Your world was destroyed? Sarah asked, her voice softening with sympathy. Yes, the Dominion came with their world killers. We are all that remains of our people. The crystals glowed dimmed with what Sarah interpreted as sadness. We have been dormant, conserving our energy, but your maintenance activities awakened. Us, Sarah looked at the crystal formations, covering a significant portion of her hull. How many of you are there? We are 47 individual consciousnesses, but we share a collective awareness. We can survive in the void, but we cannot reproduce or fully heal without a stable environment. The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. These weren't just alien creatures. They were the last survivors of an entire species. The weight of that responsibility settled on her shoulders. The Dominion, Sarah said. Are they still hunting you? Unknown. We have been unconscious for most of our journey on your vessel. But they are thorough in their extermination campaigns. If they discover we survived, they will come. Sarah's mind worked through the possibilities. She could report this to the Galactic Authority, follow protocol, and let the bureaucrats handle it. But she knew how that would end. The Crystari would be quarantined, studied, and probably never allowed to find a new home. Or worse, they might be handed over to this Dominion if it served human political interests. The decision, Marcus, what's our current position? Sarah asked. We're approximately 48 hours from Kepler Station, Captain, still in the outer system boundary. Sarah made her decision. Change course. Set a heading for the Sanctuary Nebula. Captain, that's outside authorized shipping. Lanes will be in violation of. I know what we'll be in violation of, Sarah interrupted. Just do it. She turned back to the crystals. The Sanctuary Nebula is a place where ships go to disappear. It's full of asteroids and radiation that make tracking difficult. You'll be safer there while we figure out what to do next. You would risk your career, your freedom, to help us? The Crystari asked, their glow brightening with what Sarah hoped was gratitude. I've spent 15 years hauling cargo through space, Sarah replied. I've seen a lot of injustice, a lot of suffering that could have been prevented if someone had just chosen to do the right thing instead of the easy thing. You're refugees. You're the last of your people. I'm not going to let you die because of bureaucracy. The crystals pulsed in unison, creating a beautiful light show across the hull. We are in your debt, Captain Sarah Chen. But you should know, helping us may bring great danger to you. I've been in danger before, Sarah said with a grim smile. Besides, I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. Preparing for the journey, Sarah spent the next hour documenting everything she could about the Crystari, both for her own records and to help them if they were discovered. The aliens were remarkably cooperative, allowing her to take detailed scans and answering her questions about their biology and culture. The Crystari were silicon-based life forms that could survive in the vacuum of space by entering a dormant state. They fed on various forms of radiation and could photosynthesize using starlight. Most remarkably, they had the ability to integrate with technology, enhancing its capabilities through their unique molecular structure. Your ship, the Crystari explained, has been unconsciously enhanced by our presence. We leak energy that improves the efficiency of your systems. We apologize for not asking permission. But it was necessary for our survival, Sarah checked. Her ship's readings and was amazed to find that her engines were running at 15% higher efficiency than normal, and her sensors had gained significantly more range and sensitivity. "You've been helping my ship perform better. It is how we survived the journey. A symbiotic relationship. We provide enhancement. Your ship provides shelter and transport." As Sarah prepared to return to the ship, she noticed movement in the distance. 3 small contacts on her sensor display, approaching at high speed. Her blood ran cold as she recognized the configuration. "Unwelcome visitors, Marcus, identify those contacts," Sarah ordered, pushing off from the hull and activating her suit's thrusters to return to the airlock. "Configuration matches Galactic Authority patrol vessels. They're hailing us, Captain." Sarah's heart sank. Someone had noticed their course change, or maybe the Crystari's presence had been detected by long-range sensors. Either way, she was about to face the very situation she had hoped to avoid. "Open a channel," she ordered as she cycled through the airlock. "Captain Chen, this is Commander Rodriguez of the GAR patrol ship, Vigilance. We've detected unauthorized biological contamination on your vessel. Prepared to be boarded for inspection." Sarah sealed the airlock behind her and pulled off her helmet. "Commander Rodriguez, this is Captain Chen. I'm experiencing some technical difficulties with my sensors. Can you clarify what kind of contamination you're detecting?" "Our scans show unknown alien organisms attached to your hull. This is a Code 7 biological hazard. You are ordered to maintain your current position and await boarding." Sarah looked at the display showing the 3 patrol ships taking formation around her vessel. She was outgunned and outnumbered, but she wasn't helpless. "Crystari," she said quietly, "can you hear me in here?" The response came not through her communication system, but somehow directly into her mind. "Yes, Captain. We are aware of the approaching vessels. They're going to take you. They'll probably put you in a lab somewhere, study you, and never let you find a new home. We understand. We have experienced such treatment before, from other species. It is why we learned to hide." Sarah strapped herself into the pilot's seat and began powering up the ship's systems. "What if I told you there was another way? What if we could get past them? Your vessel is not equipped for combat, Captain, and we will not allow you to come to harm on our behalf." Sarah smiled grimly. "Who said anything about combat? You told me you can enhance technology. How much enhancement are we talking about?" There was a pause before the Crystari responded. "If we were to fully integrate with your ship's systems, we could provide significant improvements to speed, maneuverability, and defensive capabilities. But such integration would be obvious to anyone scanning your vessel." "Good," Sarah said, her hands flying over the controls. "Let's make it obvious." The ship began to glow with the same blue-green light as the crystals on the hull. Sarah felt a strange tingling sensation, as if the ship itself was coming alive around her. The engines hummed with a new, deeper tone, and the control systems responded with a sensitivity she had never experienced. "Integration complete," the Crystari announced. "Your vessel is now operating at 300% normal efficiency. But Captain, this will definitely be noticed." "That's the point," Sarah replied. She opened a channel to the patrol ships. "Commander Rodriguez, this is Captain Chen. I'm afraid I can't allow you to board my vessel. Captain, you are in violation of Galactic Authority regulations. Stand down immediately or we will use force." Sarah's response was to engage the enhanced engines. The stellar horizon leaped forward with acceleration that should have been impossible for a ship of its class. The patrol vessels, caught off guard, scrambled to pursue, Warning shots, Captain, Marcus reported calmly. They're not trying to destroy us. They want the crystalry alive, Sarah realized. That gives us an advantage. The chase through the outer system was unlike anything Sarah had ever experienced. Her ship moved like a living thing, responding to her thoughts as much as her control inputs. The crystalry guided them through asteroid fields and radiation zones that would have been impossible to navigate at such speeds. But the patrol ships were persistent, and more were joining the chase. Sarah realized they couldn't run forever. There, the crystalry said, highlighting a massive asteroid on the display. That asteroid has a high concentration of the minerals we need. If we can reach it, we can establish a permanent colony. Sarah looked at the asteroid, then at the patrol ships closing in. How long do you need? Approximately 10 minutes to establish the initial colony structure. Then that's what you'll get, Sarah said, pushing the enhanced engines to their absolute limit. Asterisk, the choice that changed everything. The chase intensifies. The stellar horizon streaked through space like a comet, her hull blazing with the blue-green energy of the crystalry. Sarah had never felt so connected to her ship. Every system responded to her will as if she and the vessel were one entity. Behind them, 6 Galactic Authority patrol ships maintained pursuit, their commanders undoubtedly baffled by the impossible performance they were witnessing. Captain Chen, you are in violation of 17 separate GA regulations. Commander Rodriguez's voice crackled over the com. Cease your flight immediately, or we will be forced to disable your vessel. Sarah didn't respond. Her attention was focused on the massive asteroid ahead, a dark mountain of rock and metal that the crystalry had identified as their salvation. The asteroid was part of a dense field that would provide perfect cover, but reaching it meant running a gauntlet of patrol ships. Crystalry, I need everything you've got, Sarah muttered, her hands dancing over the enhanced controls. We are giving you everything, Captain, came the harmonious reply in her mind. But we must warn you, full integration is changing your ship at the molecular level. There may be no returning to what it was before. Sarah laughed, a sound with no humor. In it, after today, I don't think we'll be going back to anything the way it was before. The gauntlet the patrol ships had spread out in a net formation, trying to box in the stellar horizon. Sarah saw the trap forming and made a decision that would have been suicide in any normal ship. She aimed directly at the center of their formation. Marcus, transfer all power to forward shields and engines, she ordered. Captain, that configuration will leave us completely vulnerable to rear and side attacks, the AI protested. Trust me on this one, Marcus. The crystalry's energy flowed through the ship like liquid light, reinforcing the forward shields until they glowed like a star. Sarah felt the ship's eagerness to move, to dance between the enemy vessels with impossible grace. The patrol ships opened fire, their weapons designed to disable rather than destroy. Energy beams lanced through space, but the stellar horizon was no longer where they expected her to be. Sarah rolled the ship in a corkscrew pattern, using the enhanced thrusters to perform maneuvers that defied physics. Impossible, she heard one of the patrol captains mutter over an open channel. No cargo hauler can move like that. Sarah grinned fiercely. This isn't a cargo hauler anymore, she whispered. They punched through the formation, leaving the patrol. Ships scrambling to reorient. But Sarah's victory was short-lived. More contacts appeared on her sensors, a full squadron of heavy cruisers moving to intercept. Captain, the crystalry's voice carried a note of urgency. Those vessels are equipped with quantum disruptors. They can damage us even in our enhanced state. Sarah's blood ran cold. Quantum disruptors were military-grade weapons, designed to tear apart matter at the subatomic level. If the Gar was bringing that kind of firepower to bear, they weren't just interested in studying the crystalry, they considered them a threat. The revelation, why are they so afraid of you? Sarah asked as she plotted a course around the cruiser formation. We had hoped they would not discover this, the crystalry replied reluctantly. We are not merely refugees, Captain. We are the last survivors of a species that once challenged the Dominion's expansion. Our ability to enhance technology, to integrate with various systems, it makes us valuable as allies, but dangerous as enemies. Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold of space. The Galactic Authority is working with the Dominion. Not openly, but there are ... arrangements, trade agreements that require the Gay to surrender certain refugee populations. We are on that list. The pieces fell into place in Sarah's mind. The crystalry weren't just refugees, they were political prisoners, wanted by a genocidal empire, and the human government was willing to hand them over to maintain profitable trade relationships. Over my dead body, Sarah snarled, pushing the ship's enhanced systems even harder. The asteroid field loomed ahead, a chaotic maze of spinning rock and metal that stretched for thousands of kilometers. Sarah had navigated asteroid fields before, but never at this speed, never with this much firepower pursuing her. Crystary, I need to know exactly where you want to establish your colony, Sarah said, her hands steady on the controls, despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The large asteroid at coordinates 847.3 by 221.7. It contains the mineral matrix we need, and it's large enough to support our entire population. Sarah tagged the target on her display. It was deep in the field, surrounded by spinning debris and radiation pockets that would make approach difficult even for her enhanced ship. The patrol ships won't be able to follow us in there, she said. Their hulls aren't reinforced like ours, but the cruisers are, Marcus pointed out. And they have quantum disruptors. Sarah smiled grimly. Then we'll have to make sure they can't get a clear shot. She dove into the asteroid field like a bird of prey, weaving between massive chunks of rock with centimeters to spare. The crystalry's enhancement made her ship incredibly maneuverable, but even so, Sarah was pushing the limits of what was possible. Asterisk. Behind them, the patrol ships attempted to follow, but quickly fell back as asteroids battered their shields. The cruisers were more persistent, their heavy armor allowing them to bull through the smaller debris. They're gaining on us, Marcus reported, and charging their quantum disruptors. The colony Sarah's target asteroid grew larger on the display, a dark mountain of rock and metal that rotated slowly on its axis. The crystally had been right. It was rich in the minerals they needed and large enough to support a permanent settlement. How long do you need to establish the colony? Sarah asked. If we can make physical contact with the asteroid, we can begin the process immediately. Full establishment will take several hours, but we can create a defensive perimeter within minutes. Sarah made her decision. Hold on, everyone. This is going to be rough. She brought the stellar horizon in fast and hard, using the ship's enhanced shields to absorb the impact as they touched down on the asteroid's surface. The moment they made contact, the crystally flowed out of the ship's hull like liquid light, spreading across the asteroid's surface in glowing patterns. Colony establishment beginning, the crystally reported. Defensive structures coming online. Sarah looked at her sensors and gasped. The asteroid was transforming before her eyes, its surface growing crystalline structures that pulsed with the same blue-green light as the crystalline. Within minutes, what had been a dead rock became a living fortress. The final confrontation, the Gar cruisers emerged from the asteroid field, their quantum disruptors fully charged and targeting the transformed asteroid. Sarah stood on the bridge of her ship, which was now partially integrated with the crystalline colony, watching the standoff unfold. Unknown vessel and alien entities, came the transmission from the lead cruiser. You are in violation of Galactic Authority security protocols. Surrender immediately or we will open fire. Sarah activated her ship's communication system. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Stellar Horizon. The beings you're threatening are refugees seeking asylum. They have committed no crimes against humanity. Captain Chen, you are harboring dangerous alien entities that pose a threat to galactic security. Stand down immediately. What threat? Sarah demanded. They're the last survivors of a genocide. All they want is a place to live in peace. There was a pause before the cruiser captain responded. Captain, you don't understand the full situation. These entities have capabilities that could destabilize the entire sector. They must be contained. Sarah looked around at the crystalline colony growing around her ship. The crystalline had created something beautiful, a living city that pulsed with gentle light. She saw no threat here, only a desperate people trying to survive. The only threat I see, Sarah said, is a bunch of trigger-happy bureaucrats who would rather commit murder than admit they made a deal with devils. The cruiser captain's voice hardened. Captain Chen, you have 30 seconds to surrender the alien entities, or we will consider you a hostile combatant. The power of choice. Sarah looked at her ship's status display. The integration with the crystalline had changed everything. Her weapons, systems, her shields, her engines, all enhanced beyond anything she had ever imagined. For the first time in this confrontation, she realized she might actually have a chance. Crystalline, she said quietly, can this colony defend itself? Yes, Captain. We have established sufficient defensive capabilities to protect ourselves from conventional weapons, but we will not fight unless we must. And if they use quantum disruptors, then we will adapt. We have survived genocide before by learning to change, to grow stronger. We will survive this too. Sarah made her choice. Then let's show them what happens when you threaten innocent people. She opened a channel to all the Gar ships. This is Captain Sarah Chen. The crystalline are under my protection. Any attack on them will be considered an attack on me. I suggest you reconsider your position. The response was immediate. The cruisers opened fire with their quantum disruptors, beams of destructive energy that should have torn the asteroid apart. Instead, the beams struck the crystalline defensive structures and were absorbed. The energy redirected into the colony's growing infrastructure. Impossible, the cruiser captain muttered. Sarah smiled. You're dealing with a species that survived a galactic war by learning to adapt. Did you really think the same weapons that failed before would work now? The new alliance. The standoff lasted 3 hours. The GA ships fired everything they had at the asteroid colony, but the crystalline absorbed every attack, growing stronger with each assault. Finally, the cruisers withdrew, their captains reporting back to headquarters that the situation was beyond their capability to handle. Sarah stood in the heart of the crystalline colony, surrounded by structures that pulsed with gentle light. The crystalline had created something beautiful, a living city that would grow and adapt to whatever challenges it faced. We are in your debt, Captain Sarah Chen, the Christery said, their collective voice filled with gratitude. You risked everything to help us. We're all in this together now, Sarah replied. The Gar won't just forget about this. They'll be back, probably with bigger guns. Then we will be ready. And we will not forget who stood with us when it mattered. Sarah looked at her ship, which was now permanently integrated with the colony. The Stellar Horizon would never be just a cargo hauler again. She was part of something bigger now, part of a new alliance between humanity and the Christery. What happens now? She asked. Now we build, the Christery replied. We build a future where refugees don't have to hide, where different species can work together, where the strong protect the weak instead of exploiting them. Sarah nodded. It wouldn't be easy. The Galactic Authority would undoubtedly classify her as a rogue agent, and the Dominion would eventually come looking for the Christery. But for the first time in years, she felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. Then let's get to work, she said, as Sarah Chen looked out at the growing crystalline city. She realized that this was what humanity was truly capable of when it chose compassion over convenience, justice over profit. The Christery had found more than just a new home. They had found allies who would stand with them against the darkness, and in the depths of space, a new alliance was born, one that would change the galaxy forever. The end, asterisk,